And welcome back to Bitcoin Advisor channel. My name is Chris Mitchell, bringing you this cryptocurrency video from Westlake Village, California. And today is Friday, a day where we go over the non-farm payrolls, and that'll be going over here in about 7 minutes. Maybe we'll get the news as we are speaking here. But first things first, let's follow up on Bitcoin's price action, whether we're bullish or bearish in the short term and in the long term. And when I'm talking about the short term, really I'm talking about 4 hour time frame and smaller than 4 hour and less than that. And then longer term, daily, and I don't know. I'd say longer term is more like the weekly. Long term, right? What's going to happen over the next 3 to 6 months? We are still in a weekly downtrend, and that's the first thing I will lead this off with. A lot of people asking, are the lows in? Are the lows in? And I could say that I don't think they're in yet. Not only do we have all the bearish news on the board here, but here's where I would be able to say, okay, I'm ready to get bullish again. And what would that look like? We need a trend change, right? Right now, we're in a downtrend, and I mean, literally price action comes first. Before any indicator, price action first, and we are making lower lows and lower highs. And on the weekly time frame, that generally gives you the bias for the next 3 to 6 months. So let me get rid of this as I was about to draw something else. But what I would need to see on a weekly time frame for me to begin, because this really doesn't even look like a high, a confirmed local high. What do we need for a confirmed local high is a clear stop and reverse point. So I'm going to outline 2 scenarios. One, if you are considering this a high, we get a higher high there and then put in a higher low, and that would be trend reversal. What would I really like to see is something like this, which is a higher high here at 47,000. And let's see what that would look like. So let's say we boom, boom, higher low, and then boom, right? That would get me extremely bullish. I'd be looking for new all-time highs on Bitcoin's price action. And do I think that's what we're looking at right now? No, I don't. Why? Because we have so much bearish news on the board. Higher inflation, interest rates rising, war, we got the monkeypox, we got unemployment, and we got Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen for a president that, frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if their plan is to run the country right into the stinking ground. And here's another reason why. The stock market, Bitcoin, is highly correlated with the stock market. And if you look at the S&P 500, we had a bearish engulfing candle. By the way, look at the S&P 500 on the 6-month time frame. This is what it looks like on a log chart. That's hard to see, so let's put it on regular. Going back to all the way back to 1871. The S&P started, and this is the S&P just going back from the bottom of the market in 2009. Remember, this was the financial crisis, and here was the dot-com bubble. And what do you notice here? This is called a bearish engulfing candle. Now, we've only had 2 of these in the past prior 100 years. One was right here in 1973. And it took the market almost 10 years to come back and retake out those highs. The one prior to that, a bearish engulfing candle on the 6-month time frame, was in July 1929. And that one preceded the Great Depression. So this bearish candle on volume, pretty much enough for me. We're getting a little bit of a backfill. And where would it get invalidated? Well, the first warning side would be the S&P closing back above 4,400 on the 6-month time frame. You know, even something like the monthly, if we get back above 4,400, that would be your first warning sign. But keep in mind, that is the area where the bull traps come in at the 618 fib. So, do we have enough juice to get up there? I don't know. Momentum is still coming to the downside and will remain. Oh, look at that pivot at 4,400, 4,459 on the monthly time frame. So as long as we're closing below there, I'm expecting another leg down. You know, short stop at 3,200. If that breaks on the monthly, I'm looking for this green box to get hit. And since Bitcoin is highly, highly correlated with the stock market, I would say that's why, you know, I've got some bearish biases in the long term. Now, in the short term is different, right? So if we look at the daily time frame, and we have been talking about the daily time frame. By the way, I'll just revisit this little signal that just played out. And we hit it to the T, and now what are we doing? We're pulling back. I'm going to put my moving averages right on. And we did say, hey, look, if we do hit this target, likely to pull back first time off of the purple 200 exponential moving average. And now what are we seeing? Stokes will cross to the downside today with any kind of a closure below 13,300. Being that we just got a tick below this last guy, I am expecting a minimum move down to 12,964. And I'm willing to bet those non-farm payrolls today, which are coming out, I'm looking for them as we speak on the news in the back of my shoulder. It should be coming out right now. It's 8:30 Eastern. It's 8:30 Pacific. Maybe they already came out. I don't have time to check it right now. But that I would expect non-farm payrolls to be a little bit worse than expected. Even the fact is they're just fudging the numbers, so you can't believe them. You can't believe them, and don't believe them about the monkeypox. I can't believe how many dang articles I've seen about what's going on with that stuff. And it's like, how could anybody trust the CDC or the government right now after the big hoopty-la sham they just ran us through with COVID? So good luck with that one, guys. I'm going to be living by faith that, you know, 1,000 shall fall by my right side, 5,000 by my left side, but I will not fall in Jesus' name. Anyways, what else do we got here? Is there any bearish divergence coming back on the daily time frame for NASDAQ? No, I don't see any so far. We'd have to come all the way back from these points right here. Nope, this guy right here. And that would actually be 3 drives of bearish divergence, which I wouldn't be surprised if we actually get a move down to 12,591 on the NASDAQ, which would coincide with Bitcoin coming down a bit and playing out the bearish divergence, hidden bearish divergence, which we've been talking about for some time. And actually, this is hidden bearish divergence as well, coming back from this point right here. We'd have multiple drives, multiple drives. I wouldn't be surprised if we come down and actually test what would be probably the bottom side of the range. Yeah, at 12,591. If we start to lose, and again, this is a 618 fib to the downside, right, which is coming in at 12,600. That'd be our first warning sign that, hey, this little pumpy dump, or this little pump is going to turn into a dump on the NASDAQ. And since Bitcoin, again, is highly, highly correlated with the stock market, no, it's not a hedge against it's not a hedge against the stock market like some people play it out to be. It's actually a higher beta stock, tech stock, if you ask me. And yeah, I'll just put that back. And yeah, if we lose this point right here, I'm expecting a full retrace down to the lows at 11,300. And if that breaks, that'll give us our next target down to about 99.42. And boy, would I like to see that happen. Not because I want anybody to get hurt, but you know, the most important thing you can learn on our channel is how to make your own financial decisions for yourself. come up with a trading plan, come up with a strategy, whether you're accumulating, whether you're more conservative, more aggressive, come up with a strategy and then back test it. And then you have a plan. So you don't get punched in the face like Mike Tyson says, right? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And I think a bunch of people, unfortunately, don't plan. The only plan they have is I'm going to listen to my financial advisor. My financial advisor is going to tell me what to do. And there are some great ones out there. I also know some guys that worked at Fidelity and they worked at JP Morgan. And guess what? It was what they told me, an awful experience. And hey, but I'm sure there's some great guys there too. You can't just nickel and dime a company from a few people's bad experience. And of course, there's even people that complain going to Disneyland, right? So bearish divergence played out to the yellow 21, like we said. Hidden bearish divergence. Again, price was making lower highs. RSI is making higher highs. That is 4 drives. And here is kind of the line in the sand, which again, I'm going to use a fib tool here and say any kind of a closure below 2200, very likely we retest the low here at 21,187. If we begin to lose this region right here, more aggressive guys will say right here. And so it depends on if you're trading based off of a wicks or candle bodies. Wicks gives you some lower targets. In more volatile markets, wicks tend to work out. In more kind of creepy, slow, boring markets, which I think that's what we've seen lately, as we've been, look, Bitcoin on June 14th, going back almost 3 months ago, June 14th, 23,000. Today, we're at 23,000. So, give or take a few bucks, right? So pretty sideways and boring for the last 3 months. And I would expect, what do we start to notice is volatility has, began to get to a low level. And can it get lower? Yeah. Is this a bit of a trend line coming in here? Maybe. But what we want to see typically for that move to start to get going is we regain the exponential. Again, volatility, when it expands, you want to expect price to go in the direction of the trend. And let's just see if that's worked out for the last few times. Doesn't always work. TA is not an exact science. It's more of an art form. But what's happened the last time volatility just started to expand here, we got an upside move. Okay. Right here, we got an upside move. And that does kind of play on with this narrative that the daily time frame has begun. I'd say that's a clear stop and reverse. Here's a clear stop and reverse. Here's a clear stop and reverse. So as soon as we made a higher high there and a higher low here, or even, yeah, I wouldn't call that a higher high, but here's your first higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And you can see how the trend is your friend till the end of that trend, right? So I'd expect that trend to end as soon as we make a lower low here. And then, right, what typically happens is you get something like this, right? So Bitcoin makes a lower low. Let's say it gets down to here, right? And then we come right back up and test that 618 fib, the retest, and boom. Something like that could easily happen. And, we just slowly melt down. I don't know. It depends on what the stock market does. Depends on what all the bad news it could be ushering in coming into September. And that's why, if we look at the monthly chart, a tick above here at 24.5 is going to get us that move, I think, that we've been looking for up to 26, 27,000. So I do want to mark that off as a major pivot on the market. Again, monthly signals are slower than molasses. I don't trade off the monthly. This is just fun to look at. However, The monthly Stokes will not cross back up unless we get back above 38,300, which, where is that? 38,300, 38,300. And technically, after getting this big downwards move, it is not unforeseen for Bitcoin to have a little bit of a bear market rally. And, you know, from the low to the high right now, we are up 39%. Bear market rallies can easily get up to 50%, which, where would that be? Right here at 30,000 bucks. That's 70%. That would be a big one. And how do we mediate that? Well, you can look at the weekly time frame, and we are in a contraction phase. So a contractive bounce is when volatility is declining and the price goes up in the context of a downtrend. So contractive bounces, I mean, look at this one right here. That was a big one. As we lose the exponential, volatility is coming down, and Bitcoin shot up quite a bit. And then as it expanded, it came back down slightly and then kind of moved this on up. But this is kind of a neutral move right here, and that was kind of our indicator that, hey, this little double top, the first double top in Bitcoin's history, was probably not going to lead onto those new all-time highs. But I didn't read it like that at the time, personally. But again, a contractive bounce, we lose the exponential right there. So this is the BBWP, and that is the exponential. And you can set up TradingView and get the same indicators for free. We have a link in the description below. That way you can follow along and trade with us. So essentially, whatever, oh yeah, and so here's the big news right now. I'm going to turn on my fan. It's getting a little hot in here. So volatility is ticking up, and I'm going to stick with my guns on that. As volatility ticks up, we expect price to go in the direction of the trend. And this is NASDAQ. And we are still, well, we're putting in our first higher high. So now we need a higher low in order for this thing to, and again, the green 55 is typically a sell on the first pass. So we are, you know, testing down a little bit. However, we already went over NASDAQ, so I just want to get back into Bitcoin real quick, and then I'm going to end this video. And momentum is still to the downside as long as we are below 23,400, and I would say that that's probably going to line up with the 618 fib or maybe the 718. Yeah, coming in right there. So until Bitcoin can essentially take out this high on a closing basis, I would expect that we get the rest of this move to the downside, which, where are we talking about? 2159. 2159, somewhere in that region. As we lost the 382, the next level to kind of bounce between is the 382 and the 786. So that's where I'm at right now. A little bit of a bearish bias. We did not get the, and again, these signals don't play out overnight. You know, you can't expect a miracle. Sometimes it does. Bitcoin land price can move very quickly. However, if we're looking at the short term over the next couple of days or weeks, and I would expect that move to probably, you know, get done unless the stock market wants to really peel back today off of these NFPs. I almost want to just do a little search here. What are the non-farm payrolls? Payroll numbers today. Did it come out? July 8th. August 5th. Today's August 5th. I don't think the numbers are out yet. So we'll go over that probably Monday next week and see how that turns out. Other than that, I'm going to wish you all a blessed and highly favored day, and I'm just going to lastly mark off this territory. If we are looking for the next big downside move on the daily time frame, to the tune of about 11%, I'd be looking for this area to get taken out. And that would be on a daily. We want to see the candle body close below 20,704. And again, dipping back below 20,000 is not going to look good for the bulls in this market. And lastly, let's line it up with this trend line here coming back. Do I want to do this one? Something like that. That's probably what I would look at. Again, 3 touches makes a trend. We got 1, 2, 3. And what do you know? That's lining up right there. And where would the measure move? I mean, is this a massive ascending triangle? I don't think that really works. It's probably more like a wedge. It's probably more like a rising wedge, which these are more likely to break to the downside. And what does a rising wedge look like? Something like this. Boom. We got plenty of touches in that guy. And then what do you want to do? You want to take the width of this guy. And you want to go like this. Boom. So that does give you a little bit more of a downside target of 17,300. And yeah, I definitely say this is going to be a major pivot on the market coming in right here. And you could even make it a little lower if you wanted to, just catching these wicks here. But yeah, line in the sand, 20,770. And if we start to see volatility tick up, especially above the 50 percentile, that would be good enough for me to look for the next downside move at about 18,250 and fill in the wicks there. That's it for today, guys. Hope you have a wonderful, blessed, highly favored day and a great weekend. Take care.